Why do the righteous endure pain while the wicked seem to flourish? What does it mean when God's silence feels deafening in our darkest moments? These age-old questions stir the soul, urging us to seek answers beyond the surface of our struggles. The Bible offers a timeless response through the story of Job, a man whose trials illuminate the profound interplay of faith suffering and divine sovereignty. In the arid land of Uz, there lived a man named Job whose story stands as the greatest testament to faith ever told. He was neither a king nor a prophet, but a righteous and upright man. His reverence for God was unwavering, never straying toward evil, making him the most honest soul the earth had known. Yet Job's life was not only defined by his faith. He was a man of immense wealth, with vast lands teeming with cattle and a household bustling with servants. He was the most prosperous man in the East, unmatched by any.
His greatest treasure, however, was his family, 10 children, 7 sons and 3 daughters, who lived in harmony, celebrating feasts together, reveling in the blessings God had bestowed. Despite this abundance, Job found no peace in slumber. Each morning before dawn's first light broke the horizon, he rose to pray. With steady hands, he offered burnt offerings for each child, haunted by a persistent fear.
Perhaps one of my children has sinned. Maybe in their heart they have cursed God. Job knew the fragility of blessings, and so daily he interceded for them through sacrifice, not out of dread, but out of love for God and his family. Yet unbeknownst to Job, his devotion had caught the eye of forces beyond the earthly realm, setting the stage for a cosmic wager that would shatter his world. The heavens parted, revealing an eternal court where the sons of God, beings of light and power, stood before the throne. Among them walked a shadow, deliberate and unyielding Satan, the wanderer, the accuser, restless in his roaming. The Lord's voice thundered with unmatched authority. "Where have you come from?" Satan replied. "From roaming the earth, from wandering through it." His eyes had seen all kings rising and falling, cities blooming and crumbling, hearts faltering, men trading their souls for gold, and the righteous turning traitor. Yet one man stood resolute. The Lord, knowing this, spoke with conviction. "Have you not seen my servant Job? There is no one like him on earth, blameless, upright, God-fearing and shunning evil." Satan sneered. "Does Job fear God for nothing? You have shielded him, blessed him beyond measure. You've built an invisible hedge around his home, his family, his wealth. Everything he touches prospers, every sheep, every camel, every servant, and you're surprised he remains faithful. Strip him of it all, his wealth, his children, let him taste ruin, and he will curse you to your face." The challenge was laid bare. The Lord responded firmly. "Everything he has is in your hands, only do not harm him." A ripple of whispers spread through the heavenly assembly. Satan had been granted permission. He turned and vanished. The wager sealed, and Job's fate set in motion. As the heavenly decree unfolded, calamity descended upon Job's serene life in a torrent of devastation, testing the very foundation of his belief. His faith faced the fiercest trial any man had endured. The next day, Job's home buzzed with normalcy. His children feasted, laughing over bread and wine. In the fields, oxen plowed, donkeys grazed, and servants tended the herds. Order reigned. But without warning, disaster struck. A servant burst into Job's house, breathless terror carved into his face. "Master, the Sabaeans attacked. They took your oxen and donkeys, killed the servants with the sword. I alone escaped to bring you the news." A chill gripped Job. Before he could process the loss, another servant stumbled in, panting. "Master, fire fell from the sky, a storm of flames. Your sheep and shepherds are consumed. Nothing remains. Only I escaped to tell you." Job's breath caught. Fire from the sky, judgment, a sign. Then another messenger staggered in desperation in his eyes. "Sir, the Chaldeans attacked in 3 bands. Your camels are stolen, your servants slain by the sword. Only I escaped to tell you." The ground seemed to crumble beneath Job, his legacy, his wealth reduced to ashes in moments. But the worst blow was yet to come. A 4th messenger entered his face, a mask of grief, unable to speak at first. "Sir, your children." Job gripped his seat, his heart pounding. "Your children were in the eldest son's house, eating, drinking. A great wind came from the desert, struck the house from all 4 corners, and it collapsed. They all perished. Only I escaped to bring you the news." The world stopped. Sorrow's weight dragged Job into a darkness deeper than death. In an instant he had lost everything, his possessions, his entire family. Yet he did not curse God or himself. Slowly he rose. With trembling hands he tore his robe, took a knife and shaved his head, his hair falling to the ground in an act of mourning and surrender. Then he fell to the earth, pressed his face into the dirt, and worshipped. His voice, fractured by grief, echoed, "Naked. I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will return there." Then he declared, "The Lord gave and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." This was faith's greatest triumph. Job, stripped of all, surrendered not to despair, but to God. No complaints, no demands for answers, just worship. He knew his blessings, even his children, were gifts, not rights. His faith, unyielding, grew stronger in ruin. Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 to 27, affirms that 2 houses were built, one on rock, one on sand. When the storm came, only the house on the rock stood firm. Job's faith, rooted in God's character, not his gifts, prevailed over Satan's test. Undeterred by this initial failure, the adversary returned to the heavenly court, pressing for a harsher trial that would strike at Job's very core. Satan's defeat stung, but he was not finished. Days later, the heavens opened again, and the heavenly court reconvened. Satan appeared among the sons of God. The Lord's voice boomed, "Where do you come from?" With a sly smile, Satan answered, "From roaming the earth and walking upon it." The Lord, fully aware of his intent, challenged him. "Have you considered my servant Job? Despite all you took, he holds fast to his integrity. No one on earth is like him, perfect, upright, fearing God, shunning evil. You incited me to ruin him without cause, yet he remains steadfast." Satan's pride burned. Job's triumph was his humiliation. Eyes blazing, he stepped forward. "Skin for skin," the Lord countered. "A man will give everything to save his life." Satan, seizing the opening, pressed further. "Touch his flesh and bone, and he will curse you to your face." Silence gripped the angels. The challenge was issued. The Lord, knowing Job's heart, declared, "He is in your hands, but do not take his life." Satan descended in fury, ready to break the man who had defied him. With permission granted, affliction ravaged Job's body, pushing his endurance to unimaginable limits and revealing the true depth of his resolve. No wealth or children remained to target. Now Satan struck Job's body. Within hours, a horrific disease consumed him. His once healthy skin became a wasteland of festering sores from head to toe. Pain wrapped him like a shroud. Fever burned his skin, peeled and itching seared his flesh. Walking was agony. Sleep was a torment. Job sat in dust and ashes, scraping his sores with broken pottery, each movement excruciating. Days passed, and the once great man became a shadow. His honor vanished. He was no longer the East's greatest, but a wreck isolated by leprosy and death's grip. All who knew him fled except his wife. She had watched their wealth dissolve, their children buried, and now her husband reduced to a living corpse. Her heart shattered. She approached, tears streaming, and cried, "Do you still hold on to your integrity? Curse God and die." This was Satan's final ploy, using her voice to break him. Job closed his eyes, knowing her pain mirrored his own. Yet his faith held firm. He replied, "You speak like a foolish woman. Shall we accept only the good from God and not the bad?" His test was not just loss, but whether faith could endure when nothing remained. Job stood resolute. As word of Job's plight spread, his closest companions arrived, intending to offer solace, but unknowingly adding to his burden through their misguided counsel. The news of Job's tragedy raced across the region. 3 friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, horrified, journeyed to see him, hoping to comfort and understand. But nothing prepared them for the sight. From afar, they saw a figure in the ashes, covered in sores, skin torn, eyes vacant. They strained to recognize him. This couldn't be Job, the wise, prosperous man blessed by God. This was a ghost of his former self. Their hearts broke. They wept aloud, their cries halting servants and travelers in Uz. Tearing their garments, they threw dust over their heads, as if sharing his burden through this act of mourning. No words could bridge such pain. For 7 days and nights they sat in silence. Job said nothing, neither did they. They knew deep sorrow defies words. Their presence was their solace, but soon words would come bringing a greater challenge. After days of quiet mourning, Job's despair broke the silence, prompting his friends to respond with well-intentioned but flawed wisdom that deepened the divide. The silence shattered as Job cursed his birth. Not God or his friends, but the day he was born. His voice broken shook the heavens. May the day of my birth perish. Let the moment I was conceived vanish from history. His friends froze in horror. The job they knew was gone. His words were those of a man without purpose, longing to erase his existence. Why didn't I perish in the womb? Why didn't my first breaths become my last? If I had died before being born, I would be at peace now. Trapped in a suffering body, he saw no meaning in life. Why is light given to those in misery? Why allow life to those who no longer wish to exist? His lament was a cry of a crushed soul, yet death did not come.
He neither ate nor slept, hope extinguished. What I feared has befallen me. I found no peace, no safety, never at ease. Yet turmoil came. The silence after his lament was heavy. Eliphaz the eldest could no longer stay quiet. Gazing at Job, once his mentor, he spoke. You taught many, strengthened the weak, lifted the stumbling with your words, supported the fallen with encouragement. Now calamity strikes and you crumble. Isn't your fear of God your confidence? Wasn't your integrity your hope? His tone probed as if Job had forgotten his own teachings. Reflect, Job. Has an innocent ever perished? His friends nodded silently. Eliphaz's logic was stark. God is just punishing the wicked. Job's suffering implied guilt. His words stung subtly, suggesting Job's pride blinded him to his faults. They perish at the breath of God, consumed by his anger. The lion's roars fade, its teeth break, and the old lion dies for lack of prey.
Pausing. Eliphaz's eyes clouded, recalling a vision. Can a mortal be more righteous than God? Can a human be purer than their Creator? If God finds flaws in his angels, what of us, mere humans? His words wove a harsh logic. Job's suffering meant he wasn't blameless. He continued, skeptical of Job's cries. Shout if you will. Will anyone answer? To which saint will you turn? Suffering isn't random. It has purpose. His tone grew resolute. If I were you, Job, I would seek God and trust my cause to him. He performs unfathomable deeds, countless wonders, thwarting the cunning and wicked. The man God corrects is blessed. Do not despise his discipline. He wounds but heals, delivers in troubles, and saves from famine and sword. You'll be safe laughing at destruction, at peace with beasts. Eliphaz crossed his arms. This isn't just my opinion, Job. We've seen it. He concluded, hear it, understand. This is for your good.
His message: accept suffering as correction for restoration or prolong misery by resisting. Faced with Eliphaz's pointed advice, Job defended his anguish, refusing to accept blame where none existed and yearning for divine mercy. Job lifted his dust-covered face, eyes sunken. His pain defied human logic. With a heavy sigh, he replied, if my torment could be weighed justly, it would outweigh the sand of the sea. That's why my words are hasty, my burden is unbearable. Pausing, pain laced his voice. If only God would grant my longing, let me die and end this. If he crushed me, it would be my solace, for I haven't denied his words. He sought not relief but annihilation, yet torment persisted. Do I have the strength of rocks? Is my flesh bronze? I have no strength, not even to care for myself. Anger flared as he faced his friends. Those who suffer hope for comfort from companions, but you betray me. You see my torment and shrink back in fear. Have I asked for your wealth or deliverance? Silence fell. Job wanted understanding, not aid. I prefer death over breathing, he exclaimed. Eliphaz's words added weight to his affliction. Job wouldn't repent for imagined sins. His faith held firm. As the dialogue intensified, Bildad stepped in with his own stern perspective, urging Job to reflect on divine justice and the fate of the wicked. Bildad, seeing the matter as clear, spoke sternly.
How long will you speak empty words like a fierce wind if you sought God humbly pleaded, sincerely were pure and upright, he would restore your home? His tone mixed hope with judgment. Your beginning may have been small, but your end will be great if you return to God. The ancient wise knew God doesn't forsake the righteous or support the wicked. The innocent never perish. Those who sow evil reap it perishing by God's breath. To Bildad, the solution was simple uprightness brought restoration. Continued suffering signaled fault. Undaunted Job countered Bildad's assertions, grappling with the incomprehensibility of God's ways and pleading for an end to his torment. Weary Job knew no man could justify himself before God. Your words hold truth, but how can anyone argue with God? He's not my equal in debate. He's wise, powerful, unyielding, stretching out the heavens, his wonders beyond counting. If he passes, I don't see him. If he acts, I can't comprehend. Even if righteous, I can't defend myself. I can only plead. The world lies in the wicked's grasp. Judges are blind. If not God who allows this, he's condemned me. Why should I try? His voice broke. My God, why treat me thus? What have I done? I don't want to live. My soul is weary. Why create me to suffer? He reached for the sky seeking answers, but found only silence. Zophar, the last to speak, delivered the harshest rebuke, insisting repentance was Job's only path to redemption. Eliphaz's words wounded Bildad, struck hard, but Zophar's cut deepest. He glared at Job, seeing no mystery. Job sinned and faced just punishment. Will this talk go unanswered? He sneered. Will you insist on innocence? To Zophar, Job was a fool denying guilt. If only God would reveal the truth. He said, smiling bitterly, set your heart right. Reach for God, turn from wickedness, and you'll be restored. Repentance was Job's sole escape. In response, Job's frustration boiled over, challenging his friend's self-assured wisdom and turning his plea directly to the heavens for vindication. Job stood tall, face hardened. You think you hold God's wisdom, he said with disdain. Are you the Almighty's spokesman, sole keepers of truth? His patience gone, he rejected their accusations. He knew his suffering was senseless, his life upright, his faith genuine. If men offered no justice, he'd appeal to God. Eyes tearful, he cried, my God, why treat me as your enemy? If I've sinned, show me. If guilty, why not forgive and end this? With his last strength, he held fast, declaring, even if he slays me, I will trust in him. At the height of Job's desperation, divine silence was shattered as God himself entered with questions humbling all human presumption. A breeze turned to a whirlwind and God's voice thundered. Who darkens my counsel with ignorant words? Gird yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer. Job, who had begged for God's ear, now faced the Almighty. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Who set its measurements? Surely you know. Who stretched the measuring line? Job's breath faltered. God offered no explanations, only his vastness. Who shut the sea behind doors? Have you commanded the morning or shown the dawn its place? Job's heart shrank. God owed him nothing. The universe rested on his will. God's infinitude dwarfed human understanding. Job had sought answers. God gave perspective. Speechless before his glory, Job heard again, will you contend with the Almighty? Let him who accuses God answer. Job's defenses crumbled. He had nothing to say. God pressed on. Will you discredit my justice to vindicate yourself? Will you nullify my judgment? Job realized he had sought to justify himself over God's justice. God described his creation behemoth with iron bones untamable, Leviathan fire-breathing unconquerable. If no one can face these, who can challenge me, bowing in the dust? Job confessed trembling. I know you can do all things. No purpose of yours can be thwarted. I heard of you by ear, but now my eyes see you. He had spoken ignorantly, questioned blindly. God's presence, not answers, sufficed. Job, who lost all, gained everything, not through explanations, but through beholding God's glory. He repented in ashes, but his story continued. Having addressed Job, God turned to the friends whose words strayed, calling them to account and highlighting Job's intercession as their path to forgiveness. God faced Job's friends who had spoken falsely. "My anger burns against you, for you have not spoken the truth about me as my servant Job has." Job, the sufferer, was justified. His friends faced judgment. God commanded sacrifices, adding, "My servant Job will pray for you, and I will accept him." Job, scorned by them, interceded without resentment. And as he prayed, a miracle unfolded. In a stunning reversal, divine mercy restored Job's fortunes twofold, transforming ashes into abundance and underscoring faith's triumph. God restored Job, doubling all he lost. Friends and family returned, bringing riches. His flocks flourished anew, multiplied beyond before. Most beautifully, God gave him 7 sons and 3 daughters, the most beautiful in the land. Their names: Jemimah, radiant as dawn; Keziah, fragrant as spices; Karen Hapuch, a symbol of splendor, marked a new chapter. The sun rose over Uz, illuminating once ruined fields. Job walked among his flocks, surrounded by children, seeing what he thought lost forever. Yet his true treasure was his faith, now unshakable. He grasped what once eluded him: God's greatness transcends human understanding. His justice defies human measures. His love shines in both prosperity and pain. God's sovereignty is perfect beyond comprehension. Job needed no answers. He had seen God. Through Job's journey from despair to redemption, a profound narrative unfolds, revealing enduring lessons about trusting the divine in the fiercest storms and inviting each soul to reflect on their own path through life's trials. Job's life, once shrouded in lament, blossomed into a testament of divine faithfulness. He lived another 140 years, his days filled with the laughter of children, the warmth of grandchildren, and the legacy of great-grandchildren. His death came not as a surrender to despair, but as a peaceful culmination of a life full of purpose, anchored by an unyielding trust in God. His story transcends the mere recounting of suffering. It is a saga of redemption, a beacon for those navigating their own valleys of shadow. Job never received the answers he initially sought. The celestial wager between God and Satan remained veiled, the reasons for his trials undisclosed. Yet what he gained surpassed any explanation he encountered: God himself. The Almighty revealed the vastness of creation, the stars hung in their courses, the seas bound by divine decree, the untamed might of creatures like Behemoth and Leviathan. In this revelation, Job saw his own smallness, not as a diminishment, but as a humbling truth that magnified God's sovereignty. His heart, once heavy with questions, found rest in the presence of the Creator. He had heard of God by the hearing of the ear, but now his eyes had seen him, and that vision transformed his understanding forever. This is the essence of Job's story, not a resolution of pain, but a revelation of God's glory. His trials were not a punishment, but a crucible refining his faith into something purer, stronger, unshakable. The wealth restored, the children reborn, the flocks multiplied. These were not the heart of his reward. His true treasure was the knowledge of God, a relationship forged in the fires of suffering and sealed in the awe of divine encounter. Job's journey teaches that faith is not contingent on understanding the why of our pain, but on trusting the who behind it. His life challenges every believer to ask, can I trust God when the reasons for my suffering remain hidden? Can I worship in the ashes, as Job did, and find strength in his presence alone? The story of Job resonates across centuries, speaking to every heart that has wrestled with loss, doubt, or silence from above. It reminds us that God's ways are not our ways, his thoughts not our thoughts. Yet his love remains steadfast, his purposes unthwarted. Job's faith, tested to the brink, emerged, not diminished, but triumphant. A testament to the truth that God's presence is greater than any answer. His story is a call to anchor our trust in the one who holds the universe, to hold fast when storms rage, and to seek his face above all else. Matthew chapter 7 verses 24 to 27 affirms this, illustrating that only the house built on the rock endures the tempest. Job's life was that house, standing firm because its foundation was God himself. This narrative invites introspection. What trials have tested your faith, have you? Like Job, faced moments where God seemed silent, yet found strength to trust him still. His story is not merely ancient history, but a mirror reflecting our own struggles, urging us to persevere with a faith that does not demand explanations, but rests in divine faithfulness. Job's legacy is a challenge to embrace God's sovereignty, to worship in the midst of pain, and to find peace in his presence, knowing that he is enough. The question now turns to you. Will you trust God when life's reasons elude you? Share your story, reflect on your journey, and let Job's faith inspire your own. This account of Job's trials and triumphs is more than a story. It's an invitation to deepen your faith, to grapple with life's hardest questions, and to find solace in the God who sees, knows, and loves you through every storm. Will you trust him as Job did, even when the path is unclear? Will you hold fast to his goodness when the world offers only pain? Take a moment to reflect. What has God taught you through your own trials? How has your faith grown in the face of adversity? Share your faith story in the comments below, not just to recount your experiences, but to encourage others who may be walking their own path through suffering. Your words could be a light to someone lost in darkness, a reminder that, like Job, they are not alone. Thank you for engaging with this channel and for allowing this message to stir your heart. If Job's story has moved you, if it has sparked hope or renewed your trust in God, consider hitting the like button and sharing this video with loved ones who might need its encouragement. Let this narrative ripple outward, touching those who wrestle with their own why questions, offering them the hope that God's presence is greater than any trial. Blessings to you and your family as you walk your journey of faith. Amen.